Hello and welcome to Loitering, part of the Geek Show podcast network. This is the Geek Show's dedicated books, art, stage and other cultural issues. I think it would be fair to say issues. Yes, issues.
What?
I'm Graham, and this week I'm been joined by Sarah.
Hello.
Rob.
Hello.
And Andrew.
Yes, I too am excited for the discourse.
Yes, that's us, hardened discourse veterans. Well, look, first off, I think we need to give ourselves a pat on the back.
Just one sec. Okay.
How big a
Good
pat?
pat work. Yeah, because, I mean, some people would say that we as a podcast do not have influence, but how else can you explain the Nobel Prize for Literature being such a colossal screw-up this year, if not for, the hypothesis that they are trying to give us material?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the Nobel Prize, not
Yeah.
the Booker Prize. The Booker Prize for the first year had, 2 winners, didn't it?
It did, yes, and there's been a bit of debate about that, because one of them was the first black woman to win the Booker, Bernadine Evaristo, and there was some debate about whether that achievement was lessened by sharing it with Margaret Atwood. And, there's been a bit of back and forth on that, but it's been nothing like the train wreck of this year's Nobel Prize.
Okay.
Yeah, and what is a spectacularly rare occurrence? I've actually read this story beforehand, and oh boy, howdy.
Okay, I haven't read this story, so I think I need to know more.
And I've chosen not to read it today.
Oh, exciting, yes.
So, let's have a literary loitering version of The More You Know.
Well, just to get people up to speed, we have covered this on the show before, that last year the Nobel Prize for Literature was suspended because of sexual harassment allegations in the Swedish Academy. And while it was away, there was a bit of discussion about what the Nobel Prize for Literature means, and is it too Eurocentric? It is often, European authors who win it, and generally just is this thing going into the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of an impetus to right the ship this year.
To what?
Okay.
To right the what?
To right the ship.
Okay, right. I was just checking because I misheard that.
Yeah, I think the thing you heard is what they ended up doing.
Oh.
The story begins, as every great story must, with the Irish author John Banville receiving a physiotherapy session.
Of course. The natural
He's
start
Oh,
of the process.
that's right. This is the other half of the story.
Yes. It's a good one. He is lying face down on his couch when he receives a call from Mats Malm, the permanent secretary of the Swedish Academy, saying that this year they will be giving out 2 Nobel Prizes for Literature, one for this year, obviously, and one in retrospect for 2018. And he asked, would you prefer to receive the 2018 or the 2019 prize? And Banville was obviously delighted. He rang around everyone he knew. 40 minutes later, he received a phone call from his daughter saying, just seen the live announcement of the Nobel Prize for Literature on TV. They didn't say your name.
Wow.
Whoops.
He suspects that the hoax was aimed at discrediting the Academy, though, I mean, to be honest, once you hear the second part of this story, you'll wonder if they needed to try.
Okay.
Because, as I say, the Nobel Prize for Literature has been driven by sexual harassment scandals. It has been called overly focused on Europe, but it's okay, baby. The Nobel Prize for Literature is back, and it's giving out 2 awards to authors from, respectively, Poland and Austria. And
Now, to be fair, one of these winners is like a dreadlocked, like heavily feminist writer. So that's a thumbs up, isn't it?
That's a good
Yeah.
start.
That's
Yeah.
Okay. A dreadlocked, heavily feminist writer, but is it actually a woman?
It is actually a woman, yes.
I just needed to confirm that there. We do live in the modern age, after all.
Yeah, I probably should have confirmed that, but I got distracted by the dreadlocks because they are quite cool.
The dreadlocks do look very bad. We are speaking here of Olga Tokarczuk, the Polish author of Drive Your Plough Over the Bones of the Dead.
Wow, that's a title and a half,
That's
isn't
the
it?
title, isn't it?
I know!
Majestic title.
I hope that's not a literal book title like we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah. Tokarczuk is not without controversy. She has received threats for talking about Poland's, the less salubrious aspects of Poland's history, and the film adaptation of Drive Your Plough Over the Bones of the Dead by Agnieszka Holland was called satanic by the Polish Ministry of Culture. So,
oh wow! Have you seen this film, Graham?
you know, I tried to watch a bit of it, and I was just not in the mood. It was really sort of bleak and slow. But had I known that the Polish government think it was satanic, I'd have watched the whole thing. Obviously,
not enough tractors.
Yeah, it needed more tractors.
And can I just say that in a story filled with, quite frankly, unbelievable details, the one I'm most struggling to wrap my mind around is there's a point at which Graham doesn't want to watch slow, bleak European art films.
Exactly. I'm just going to wait for the English dubbed version with its theme tune by the Wurzels.
Nice.
Yes, I've got a brand new plough driving over the bones of the dead. But all this is a warm-up for the real bodge they've made, which is the Austrian winner, Peter Handke, whose work includes the following beautiful statement that he read at the funeral of one of his dearest friends and the man he most admires. See if you can spot the point at which this goes off the rails. I don't know the truth, but I look, I listen, I feel, I remember. This is why I am here today, close to Yugoslavia, close to Serbia, close to Slobodan Milosevic.
Was it the beginning where he said, I don't know the truth? Also, you said his name was Handke.
Yes.
Seriously, somebody is missing a trick if they don't call him Chief.
Yeah, that's the right way, isn't it? Just go straight for the silly puns, ignore the war crimes.
So he's close buddies with Milosevic?
Yes. He read the eulogy at Milosevic's funeral in 2006 and has repeatedly denied the genocides caused by Serbian forces.
Yeah, some subjects are too heavy for me to take on.
It's almost kind of impressive, isn't it? I mean, part of me sort of understands this because my all-time favourite author, Jorge Luis Borges, was denied a Nobel Prize because of comments he made early on in the reign of Augusto Pinochet, where he was sort of considered to be too pro-Pinochet, but his position evolved and he was never an outright supporter and he never spoke at his bloody funeral. Also, people haven't read Peter Handke since the 1970s, so what the hell were they thinking?
That's weird. Did he have a mate on the panel or something?
Probably.
It's all I can think of.
I'll be honest, I have a lot more respect for prizes like the Booker rather than the Nobel Prize for Literature. The reason being, the Nobel Prize has been around for so long, it's very much an old boys club now.
Yeah, and it is one of those awards which discredits itself through being around for so long, so you can look through it and just see that they've made the wrong calls or failed to award the right people so many times, or in this case, took a year off, promised to be a bit more woke when they relaunched, and awarded an apologist for genocide.
Yeah. Which is the Nobel way.
Yes.
Gosh, really, that's almost as terrible a crime as Green Book winning an Oscar, isn't it?
I mean, I suppose they could argue that the Nobel Prizes are going back to their roots as a way of covering up Alfred Nobel's horrific legacy as a manufacturer of dynamite and other munitions.
Yeah.
This is just peak Nobel, isn't it?
Yep.
It is.
It's who he would have wanted the award to go to.
There is a bit of a fun thing on at the end of this, which is that Olga Tokarczuk's home city of Wrocław has passed a temporary law saying that any person can ride on buses or trams for free the weekend after the prize was given out, providing they are carrying one of Tokarczuk's books.
That's okay.
Oh, that's a nice touch.
Mm.
Yeah, it is rather
There was
sweet.
There was a story recently about some country that was going to just make all public transport free. I can't remember where that was though.
It's a pretty good idea.
It certainly wasn't here.
No, it definitely wasn't here.
I know, you sound like I'm reading some kind of like utopian science fiction. So.
I know that does sound like my normal material, but no.
And there's utopian science fiction.
It's got to exist, right?
I've been looking for this stuff for decades. Where is it?
Yeah. Actually,
It's
I want people to recommend me books like that. Just books where it's like 300 pages of everything being lovely and fine.
Yeah, in the future, everything's going to be okay. I want a sci-fi book like that.
It's got to be a genre that makes a comeback, right? Because these days, dystopian science fiction is more commonly referred to as your headlines tonight.
See, you're saying the word comeback, but I don't think it was ever in fashion enough to be to make a comeback.
There was a sort of a Victorian boom in utopian science fiction during the kind of proto-SF years, with things like, what was it, the Edward Bulwer-Lytton one, the Coming Race, or something like that, or News from Nowhere.
News from Nowhere?
News from Nowhere.
Oh my god, that was the pilot I made in the 90s. Flipping heck. Sketch show pilot.
When you say the 90s, was it the 1890s? That would fit the timeline.
Actually, it wasn't the 90s, it was the early 2000s.
Right.
It didn't have any kind of sci-fi basis.
News from Nowhere. That was William Morris, wasn't it?
That's the fella, yes.
The wallpaper guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was, for a wallpaper manufacturer, very radical politically.
Yeah, I know he had that political dimension to it. I didn't know he wrote stuff, though.
Yeah.
Did he have like a manifesto? Was it an arts and crafts one or something?
I think so, yes. I'm not an expert on it, but I think I've heard that, yes.
Warrants further investigation?
Certainly does. Meanwhile, back in this non-utopian world, the BBC have drawn our attention to a bit of a swizz in the books market, which is that, well, the story starts off with, if you want to plough through the Booker Prize shortlist, a sentence beginning to which the correct ending would be, you will give up about a quarter of the way through Duck's Newburyport. But no, they take it in a different direction. They say if you want to read the entire Booker Prize shortlist, all of the books in hardback will cost you just shy of £90, unless you are blind or partially sighted and therefore use audiobooks, in which case a 50% VAT tax will be coming your way.
Really?
What?
Holy mother of God.
What?
I know.
Is this just some unforeseen effect of VAT? Or is it just like, yeah, let's just target that audience?
Yeah, let's just
those
keep the
damn blind people. They've had it too good for too long.
How can you justify a 50% markup on the price of audiobooks?
Well, it is quite baffling. I mean,
It is baffling.
the BBC suggests it's because of the cost of actually hiring actors and recording them, but I'd have thought there were other areas where you might save, like, for example, paper.
Wood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Those pesky blind scroungers.
not just paper, plastics, packaging, deliveries, that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Resources, fuel.
I mean, it's a digital file. You can download it then and just store it on your
Exactly.
PC.
I mean, just the idea of charging VAT on something that doesn't physically exist always boggles my mind.
When I was on
VAT
holiday.
on the MP3. I mean, they've clearly just done it because it rhymes.
When I was on holiday, I thought, oh, well, I won't take a book. I'll get some, I'll join Audible, and you get a certain period for free. But then I was thinking, well, where all these books that like almost the same price as the hardback books? Why is that? I couldn't figure out why.
There you go.
It's a seller's
Because of
market.
the one actor that voiced the entire book
No,
Yes.
quite
for
much.
2 hours in a studio for 6 weeks. Come
You
on.
know what Damien Lewis's Fabergé egg habits like? It's out of control.
I hate to say it, but it's there was a study done recently about the rising trend of people listening to audiobooks, and it was looking at the reasons why more and more people are listening to audiobooks. It has to do with this whole idea of if you read books, then you are intelligent. But a lot of people don't
There's
want to.
also, you can double up, if you're busy, you can listen to a book whilst you're doing something else.
Yes.
Yes, you can.
Which is really handy.
Yeah. The problem, though, lies in the fact that when you read a book, it does certain things to your brain, right? It causes certain things to happen in your brain. But that doesn't happen if you're listening to a book.
Right.
I think it does.
Not
If
to
it's- if
not
you're
to as
listening-
great a degree, I should say.
It's different things that happen, obviously.
Different things that happen.
It's like if you listen to a story that's being read on the radio or anything like that.
Yeah.
You design the pictures in your head as you go along. I have a massive fondness for radio, and that's the reason why.
Radio and stuff like that. See, the problem, one of the big differences is radio is a short-term thing, whereas if you're listening to a book, you're listening to a book for however long it is. And so when you're looking at when you look at the effects on things like cognition, things on imagery that you create yourself, all those chemical functions that happen in the brain, it's very different when you're listening to a book than when you're reading a book.
Right. I think you can be listening to a book. I mean, if you were listening to a book from beginning to end, that's a lot of listening.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you
I
might
mean,
break it up into chunks, manageable chunks, which is exactly how it appears on the radio. So that would be exactly the same.
Yeah.
If you're listening to the audiobook of Ducks Newburyport, the neighbour's going to break in and find your cobweb-coloured skeleton with the reader still rambling on.
What is this book?
It's long.
Well, yes, I'm getting the sense of that.
It's a book by Lucy Ellman that was on the Booker shortlist, which gained attention because it is around 1,000 pages long and contains, if I am remembering this correctly, 8 sentences.
Wow.
Say what?
Okay.
As in, just like every few hundred pages, there will be a single full stop.
Yes!
Oh my goodness.
No.
Is it interesting though? I mean, apart from that, device.
I mean, I haven't read any of it, but the answer is obviously no.
I would argue that it's not actually possible to be interesting enough to justify that kind of structure.
Yeah. I might side with you on that one. You'd be so conscious of it, it'd take your mind off what was happening, surely.
So this is one of those books that was written just to satisfy the author's ego rather than to actually tell a story.
I think, yeah, I think that's...
For a marketing device.
Yeah. But imagine reading that on an audiobook. You don't even have somewhere to take a breath.
No.
That's not the one I was imagining reading as an audiobook. The one
Okay, counterpoint though.
Yeah.
What if we got Brian Blessed to voice it?
No. Brian Blessed doing List of the Lost. There you go.
best salutations!
Now, who wouldn't want that as their ringtone? Or as the doorbell. Can you imagine if you press someone's doorbell, it's just Brian Blessed going, all best salutations!
Gordon's alive!
See, you probably mean just get a recording, but I like to think you mean just hire Brian Blessed. He'll stand behind your door. So that whenever anyone presses it, just yell that.
He should just do the voice of Siri. Your keys are in the hall!
No, just
dialing into Flora!
Just make Brian Blessed the voice of all virtual assistants everywhere.
I think so, yeah, either him or Herzog.
Then Herzog around your house.
Oh, God.
Looking up recipes for cheese and onion quiche.
Is he actually wearing a T-shirt that says Werner Herzog in the house?
You know, I would happily take the robot uprising if it meant having like Brian Blessed Siri and Werner Herzog Alexa just yelling at each other.
That'd be amazing.
Just Google's assistant is just off in the corner, just cowering in fear.
Oh my God, it'd just be an infinite audio loop.
Actually, someone did that. Someone did that with Siri and Alexa and Google's assistant, whatever it's called. Someone actually set up these three assistants, and they were all talking to each other in this endless loop, asking each other questions.
Amazing! It's like it's the end of the first Weeping Angels episode of Doctor Who, isn't it?
Yes.
We've got quite a cast of characters, of authors we like sort of coming back to and making a little extra fun of sometimes.
Dun, 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 dun.
Hey.
Sorry, Andrew. Stepping on your toes there.
Yeah, sometimes when it's George R.R. Martin or Leila Slimani, the mockery is slightly affectionate. Other times it's Bret Easton Ellis.
Oh, he's back.
He's not. I've scared you for nothing. But I feel that there is a major international literary scenester who we have not made fun of anywhere near enough on this show. And it's the Norwegian memoirist Karl Ove Knausgaard.
Okay.
Which one's he?
Just remind me of his output.
He is the one who is currently, I think, 4, maybe 5 volumes deep on a memoir project tracing the least eventful days of his life in extraordinary detail, which
he's
ill-advisedly called My Struggle.
No.
So he's vols deep in his struggle?
He doesn't just do that, of course. He also writes other drivel. And
does he also run around the house yelling Aussie, 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 oi, oi,
oi? That would be too close to an event in his life.
So
he's trying not to have those for marketing
You're
purposes.
Right. It would ruin his integrity as a writer if he had fun.
I have to ask, when he says my struggle,
yeah.
Okay, are we talking like Vive la Revolution type struggle? Are we talking like an independent struggle? Are we talking about a struggle against addiction? Or...
Well, apparently we're talking about a struggle against nothing happening.
Yeah. Seriously, I cannot overemphasize the degree to which absolutely nothing happens in a Karl Ove Knausgaard books.
So he's basically writing his version of Paddy Clark, ha ha ha.
I guess, yeah, I'd never thought of it that way. It's like, do you remember Nicholson Baker before he went mad?
Yes.
Kind of like the big, long, detailed, well, they weren't that long, but they were incredibly detailed novels about, a lunch break or something like that, just taking one thing and going over it in forensic detail. Imagine that, but Scandinavian and doing it about your own life at great length.
Oh, right, okay. So it's basically the book equivalent of that movie that everyone says is one of the best movies of all time, where it's just two guys having dinner.
Oh, My Dinner with Andre.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's like the book equivalent of that then.
Or just if you took an episode of Wallander and cut out everything except for the bits where he's like sitting in his IKEA chair looking sorrowful.
Oh, I love
just
that.
Had that on a
The
loop
idea
for
of that.
hours.
That's like Garfield without Garfield or something. If you've ever read that.
They should absolutely market Nausgaard's My Struggle as Wallander without Wallander, especially in Germany, where I imagine they're having enough trouble with the title.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the German translation hasn't gone over well.
So, obviously, I know what you're thinking about Nausgaard. You're thinking, this stuff, if you get the right director, is box office gold.
Please say it's Michael Bay. Please say it's Michael Bay.
Well,
come on, Michael Bay.
There has been a film in development at Netflix of 2 magazine articles by Nausgaard, which has just fallen through for, I think, the most Nausgaardian reason a film can possibly fall through, which is that Nausgaard's just said, nah, actually, I don't want it to be made.
It's too eventful.
Imagine a volume of My Struggle where he's talking about having a Netflix film directed by Alexander Payne with Mads Mikkelsen as himself, for that was who was involved. It would just be too interesting. It would break the flow of the book completely.
Yeah,
so, Ian,
completely.
Has Nausgaard basically made a successful career out of being boring?
Yes.
Essentially.
Oh, God, it's the Pet Shop Boys song all over again.
I suppose I would like it a bit more if, Rob, when you said that film that everyone says is one of the best of all time, I thought you were going to talk about, what's that Chantal Ackerman film? Is it like Jean Dielman, 1080 Quad d'Ouvre, Brussels, something like that?
I can't
where
remember.
It's just like 3.5 hours of a housewife doing tasks around the house.
Oh, that, yeah.
I mean, as porn goes, it's quite niche.
The thing is, I actually really love Jean Dielman. I'm not sure if I'll ever watch it again, but it works, and I guess Nausgaard's fans probably get the same experience from his books. I don't know, I'm starting to sound charitable. I don't like myself.
Yeah, Can you just imagine that conversation on set? just Mads Mikkelsen walking up saying, okay, he's been struggling with some of these lines, but he's finally got it cracked, really got down to the essence of the character, but oh, what's that? He's just said, nah, changed his mind about the film. Can't be bothered. Shutting down production.
Can you imagine the direction that Mads Mikkelsen got from the writers and the director on how to play the role?
Yeah.
They basically walk to him and say, right, so you remember those adverts that you did, the furniture adverts where you were diving across all sorts of furniture and fighting invisible guys and stuff like that? Yeah? Do the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
And stop being so damn handsome.
Yeah, you'd sit him down at the start and go, now, Mads, you're very charismatic, so we're going to have to put a stop to that straight away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe that's why he shut it down. Mads Mikkelsen he couldn't capture that in heavens. Just utter charmless boredom.
Without drugs or a lobotomy.
Damn it. Tell him to stop picking that spoon up in such an interesting manner.
I feel like it's Victorians talking about table legs.
Yes. This is, I don't know what it is, but authors seem to be getting more and more veto power over film adaptations of their work. I'm thinking of E.L. Wisty, the author of 50 Shades of Grey, when never going to stop doing it.
And the voice is now in my head.
But yeah, when Sam Taylor Johnson and Patrick Marber were trying to make her book good, she put her foot down and said, no, won't be having any of that. And that's how we got the film. I think authors should be treated as badly as possible by Hollywood.
See, it's a massive change to how things used to be. I mean, just if you look at an earlier vampire movie where the author wasn't happy with the person playing the role of Lestat, in this case, Tom Cruise.
Vampire. Yeah, full page advert. Flipping heck.
But Tom Cruise, I thought was really good as Lestat.
Yeah, and she changed her mind.
Yeah.
But not before she'd had a massive reaction to the first hearing the news.
Exactly.
And she forgot about things like makeup, wigs.
Yes.
Which
it's almost like people who write books for a living don't really know all that much about making a film.
Yeah, it's almost like a screenplay is somehow different from a novel.
The irony being that makeup and wigs actually play an integral role in Interview with the Vampire.
Yes. Yeah, it would be very different if you did it in sort of Dogma 95 style with all the cast wearing their own clothes.
Exactly.
Although I would watch that.
Yes.
I would certainly watch it over actual Dogma.
While we're on movies, it's been far too long since we had a silly new word added to the dictionary story, hasn't it?
Oh, bring it. Yeah.
It certainly has.
Mm-hmm.
I am delighted to announce that Jedi, Padawan and lightsaber are now in the Oxford English Dictionary.
Oh, and also a big finger to the American spelling of saber. It's the British spelling of saber.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, BRE.
Oh, very
nice. Which is so much more elegant.
Well, you know, it was a more enlightened age.
I don't know whether I like it, to be honest. I mean, in as much as lightsabers only exist within American popular fiction, it's kind of like correcting the spelling of Pearl Harbor. It's their place.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I think you have a point there. But it looks prettier in my eyes. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's like theatre the way we spell it and theatre the way they spell it. And meter the way we spell it and meter the way they spell it.
And centre parts, which is all wrong.
Yeah.
Yes.
All kinds of wrong, all meshed up into one word.
It's good that this has happened because, honestly, the non-Star Wars related words that have been added are a bit lackluster. I mean, some of them look depressingly like actual words.
Oh, such as?
Tollywood,
which is the Bengali language film industry.
Yeah, which I didn't know.
Right?
I did not know that Bangladesh had a film industry.
It's based in, and I'm pretty sure this isn't how you pronounce the place, but it's how I'm going to pronounce the place. Tollygunge.
Ah.
That's pretty much how you pronounce the place.
I mean, why would you want to pronounce it anything else?
Yes. Yeah, but just because it sounds like an odious discharge.
See, I think I knew that fella. He was from Alabama.
I think the most useful word that's been added is Damianite, which it defines as a member of a group of followers of Damien.
Are we talking
Patriarch of Alexandria? Sorry, yes.
I was trying to figure. Are we talking about the Antichrist? Are we talking about Damien Hirst? Which Damien are we talking about?
Are you talking about my mate Damien and Liz in Thornaby?
Is it Damien Lewis? Is it?
And his expensive voiceover fees? Probably, yes.
Exactly.
Now, these are my 10 commandments, but just pay me a fee first before I tell you them.
Or is it the mystical...
Listen, upkeep costs on cults.
Or is it Damien Trotter, who we all know is the real Antichrist?
Yes.
Who?
Was that Rodney and Cassandra's son?
No. It was. It was the.
No.
Yeah.
Rodney was concerned he was the Antichrist. Yeah, it was Dell and Cassandra's son.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, according to the OED, the Damianites were accused by their opponents of Sabellianism. Now, I would love to think that Sabellianism is going to be added next year. And there's going to be this beautiful interregnum where people read that and think, Sabellianism, what's that? Oh, coming 2020.
I'm already thinking, what's that?
I think it's a rebellionism, but it comes from Sedgefield.
I think it's something to do with the Sybils.
I don't know. I just know that the trailer's my favourite part of the dictionary.
By Sybil, I mean Sybil Faulty.
Yes, that's where I was going to go as well.
Sibylline.
Yeah, I've got no idea what it means.
Although you did use the word interregnum, so...
It was, I was quite pleased with that as well, actually.
That's a nice word, interregnum.
Weren't there certain other words that are more commonly used, though?
Commonwealth?
Cocktease has been added, if that's...
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it not there already?
Well, it's been saying it's there, but when you actually flash the name...
Oh.
Sometimes it's just a good day at the office.
Oh, mate.
So yes, from Jedis through to older forms of mystical powers, Augustin Burroughs, most famous for his, I guess you would call it an auto-fiction. It's not quite a memoir, and according to his family, who it's about, it's definitely not a memoir, but it sold well and people liked it, so we've got to find a way of being nice.
An auto-fiction that's not a memoir, so does it basically write itself?
Book of Lies. Book of Lies is what it is.
Running with Scissors, it was called. He also wrote one called Dry about his alcoholism, and he's just come out with what we cover a lot of stories, and I've got to say, this is the most out of left field author confession I've ever heard. Here is someone who writes kind of urbanely witty confessional based on fact novels. He has just said that he's a witch.
And what?
Okay. Just in time for Halloween. How convenient.
So he actually said witch and not warlock.
Yeah.
Witch.
Yeah.
Men can be witches too.
Well, no, not really, because male witches are warlocks.
That's not true.
Pagans are quite relaxed about gender stuff, so if Augustin Burroughs wants to be a witch...
True.
He will find more acceptance among them than he does with me.
Yeah. I think it also depends on the mythology or fiction.
I just want to wind back a bit. So you're telling me, Sarah, that movie that I like, starring Richard E. Grant as a witch hunter, was lying to me all the time?
Well, if he's a witch hunter and it's called Warlock, either he's doing his job very badly, or...
He's lying to me. Richard E. Grant, you lied to me.
Yeah, apparently he had a psychic experience aged 8 where he worked out that his grandmother was hospitalized after a car accident before anyone had told him. When he asked his mother how he knew, his mother explained that her ancestors escaped the witch trials in Lancaster.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at the whole accident part. It's just when you said psychic experience aged 8.
It's a time when a boy's going through some changes.
It just sounded like, the caption underneath a photo in a textbook.
So he's... I say this as though I believe it. He's a genetic witch.
A gene witch?
Yes.
Okay. So
has complete mental mastery over the powers of Denim.
Does that mean he could start his own academy for gifted children?
If he wants a young adult publishing contract, he'd better.
Oh, well, if he wants to be sued...
Gene Witch is definitely some kind of, Miss Peregrine style X-Men knockoff, isn't it?
Yeah, I was about to say, if he wants to be sued by Marvel, he better not call it that.
I'm pretty sure Gene Witch was a glam rock band from the 70s.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah, he says something here which is actually, it must be said, fairly sensible, which is then undercut by the bit that the article ends on. He says, a witch can't turn a person into an owl or fly on a broom or defy the laws of physics. We can't do anything that's impossible, but we can do many things that people believe are impossible. When something is hanging in the balance, as they say, we can add more molecular weight on the side of the outcome we desire, which sounds fairly reasonable until you get to the end and you realise that he has no UK publisher for this book.
Okay.
I think he's dipping his toe into quantum physics there, because on a molecular level, a scientist can adjust the outcome of an experiment just by being present.
Is that spooky action at a distance?
Yes, it
well,
is.
I'm confused by something, right?
And I guess if I want a sandwich, I can add molecular weight onto the effect of me going and making a sandwich.
Yes.
There you go. Witchcraft.
I just want to ask...
Sandwichcraft.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's the ultimate form of magic. That's why Subway makes so much money. But just to ask one little tiny question.
You sound like the count that likes to count.
Exactly. And I don't know why I ended up sounding like that, but I'm going to go with it. So just one question. Right.
Yes.
He said, things that are impossible, but they can affect things that people believe are impossible, which are, I know they're not one and the same thing, but how does he know what's impossible?
Oh, he's a witch.
I'm
Look,
really...
Rob, if you're trying to suggest that anything he can claim to affect, he would say, oh, people just think that's impossible. Yeah. Whereas anything that he fails in, he would just say, yeah, but see, that's actually impossible. So it turns out my powers don't actually cover that. But that's preposterous.
But he turned around and said,
"Who would do such a thing?"
But he's literally said as part of that sentence, "Witches can't fly," and I'm like, "Yes, they can. They just buy a plane ticket." It's like that whole thing. You can't cross the same bridge twice. I'm like, "Yes, I can. I've just walked over it like a dozen times."
Yes. No man steps into the same river twice. Ha ha. Allow me to prove you wrong, Heraclitus.
And then he says,
I can't remember.
Yeah, and then he says, it's not the same river. And you look down at your feet and go, oh. Your sodden feet.
No need to swear.
I said sodden.
I know. Right. We have a couple of stories about children's books as we get towards the end of the show. The first is that kids have a new hero in a picture book that's been written by Afua Hirsch, and it's Lady Hale of the Supreme Court.
I mean, to be fair, that does sound like quite a steampunky name. Yes. Even if the woman herself is maybe not quite the Victorian, gyroscope flying heroine that I'm imagining.
Was she the first woman to get onto the Supreme Court in this country?
She was the first president of the Supreme Court. I don't know if she was the first woman, full stop. I don't know that.
I think she was the first, that's it, the first woman president. I think there was a furore at the time.
See, my brain went in a totally different direction. My brain literally went in a totally different direction. Even though I know what the Supreme Court is, and even though I know what this book is about, my brain went in the direction of the Supremes and X Factor. And so, just the court of Diana Ross and the other two, just judging people as they come along, saying, yes, you can be a Supreme.
Maybe that's how the Supreme Court started. It's a novel in pictures and verse for young children explaining the story of Lady Hale. And there is an illustration here which does seem to show her famous spider brooch.
Mm.
Do we remember?
What gives her her spectacular powers?
So is she secretly Spider Justice?
I mean, we've had a few spin-off Spider-Men, haven't we? And some of them have been women, Spider-Gwen. So
We have a whole Spider-Verse.
Yes.
Yes.
There's plenty of Spider-Women. There's not just a few. There are loads. Even Aunt May is a Spider-Woman.
So yeah, I don't see anything wrong in saying Brenda Hale might be, have the powers of a spider.
Or is she secretly Madam Web?
You're going to have to explain that one because it's not 4-panel.
No.
Yeah, I'm not helping you out, Rob.
Damn it, I have to explain Madam Web to people who don't read comics. Madam Web, depending on which version of Spider-Man you've read, I'm going to go with the cartoons. Cartoon explanation is easier. She's the one who pulls Peter Parker into the Spider-Verse and gets him to save everything in the first place.
Oh yeah, I bet Lady Hale would do that.
And now the joke is fun.
So yes, that's Equal to Everything, Judge Brenda and the Supreme Court, which I believe is out now. But in a much less dignified corner of children's publishing, we have the toilet training themed masterpiece, Little Budgie's Done a Fudgie.
That just sounds awesome.
Is this the parenting sequel to How to Poo on Dates?
Maybe.
Is this by Karl Ove Knausgaard? Was it even too interesting for that?
Knausgaard would absolutely remember if his pet budgie had done a poo in the bottom of its cage on one morning. Yes. It's by Simon Harris, who is a dad blogger. Yes, men can be parent bloggers too, apparently.
Thank God we finally smashed that glass ceiling.
Oh, God, imagine how awful Dad's net would be.
I have a question. Yeah. I have a question. In this age of equality, right, we have things like dad jokes and dad bods, but we don't have mum jokes and mum bods. We have mum's net, but we don't have dad's net. Is that fair?
Yes, because the other sides of those coins are horrific.
Yes.
Except for maybe mum bods. Sometimes let things hang out.
I feel like the territory of finding mums attractive has been laid claim to before. I feel other pioneers have planted their flag on that hallowed turf.
Yeah, we have MILFs and we also have DILFs.
Yeah, but what I'm saying specifically, Graham, is that I'm sick of your goddamn unrealistic standards of what female attractiveness is. Just give it a rest already.
But yes, back to Little Budgie's Done a Fudgie. The sentence switch. I never expected to say when I was sitting in with my careers advisor at university.
I mean, do we need an episode title with that title?
Harris has received a very angry complaint from a reader whose name is Marjorie.
Of course it is.
Shouldn't be funny, but it's the cherry on top of the whole thing. And it reads, "Hello, I purchased your book, Little Budgie's Done a Fudgie, on Kindle today after seeing your post on Facebook. And while I was reading it to my little girl, my older teenage son started giggling hysterically. I asked him what was so funny, and he told me what fudgie means. It's disgusting, and you should be ashamed of yourself."
So Margie's complaining about the budgie that did a fudgie.
Now, I mean, this phenomenon that I'm sure we've all seen of people who are very censorious and demand other people be clean living have the filthiest imaginations possible.
Oh, you mean Mary Whitehouse then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
she was BDSM in secret.
I mean, for her to complain about all that stuff, she had a vivid imagination.
Absolutely. And when I said Little Budgie's Done a Fudgie, you all thought it has pooped, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Marjorie.
Oh?
Her message continues, I googled this afterwards on Urban Dictionary and have attached.
There's your first mistake.
There's one judge between, dear Marjorie, try googling literally anything on Urban Dictionary.
Why would you trust Urban Dictionary?
I don't know. Apparently, we found the one person who hasn't realised that all of these things are written by bored 14-year-olds yet.
Yeah,
I know.
Quite
One time, I tried to think of the most innocent word I could try and type into Urban Dictionary.
Yes.
I decided on sunflower.
Oh,
That's
God.
a thing. That's a horrible, horrible thing.
So, yeah, I won't say what fudgy means because on Urban Dictionary, because even we have standards, but I will say, just when I'm starting to like Simon Harris, I find out he has a Facebook page called Men Behaving Dadly.
Oh. It's cute.
See, I'll be honest, I know it's awful, but I kind of like it as well.
I feel like I'm going to like it because otherwise I have to join Team Marjorie.
Exactly.
That's usually like a senior citizen name, Marjorie.
Yes. Marjorie!
I mean, why would you want to Google the word fudgy when your first instinct is stun a poo?
Yeah, I mean, most of us are happy with what we've got with that title.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think maybe it was the reaction of the teenager in close proximity to Marjorie that provoked this interaction with Google.
Well, Harris has acknowledged this in his response, said, the bit in her message about it being hard to raise good Christian children made me laugh. I'm not against any religion, but how on earth has a good Christian teenager heard of this?
Uh-huh.
It's a very good question.
I still don't know what it is.
Yeah, I feel like the Venn diagram of good Christian boys who love their mummies and do their Bible reading, and boys with encyclopedic knowledge of all of Urban Dictionary's most heinous sex acts maybe do not intersect as much as Marjorie thinks.
Or maybe intersect a lot more than Marjorie thinks.
Yes.
What I'm saying is, Marjorie, I think you got one of the bad uns. It's a trick question. They're all the bad uns because teenagers are the worst.
Yes. Shall we go for some antique filth to close out on?
Go on then. Go on then.
Yes, please.
Of course.
This comes from a site whose filthiness is second only to Urban Dictionary, the University of Bristol's official website.
That's sick.
Even their city name is innuendo.
Rude.
Oh, so that's what Bristol fashion means.
Yeah, it's just wonder bras. This is The Romance of the Rose, a medieval French poem which had previously been translated, and maybe this should be your first warning, by Geoffrey Chaucer.
Oh.
Okay.
One bit, however, has been routinely left out, a translation by the Victorian medievalist F.S. Ellis in 1900, added an appendix where the text was reproduced in Old French, along with the comment, those who read them will allow that I am justified in leaving them in the obscurity of the original.
Which, and having read this article as well, hard disagree.
So yeah, I mean, there's a couple of short paragraphs explaining what it is, and I've got to say I don't see the problem. The University of Bristol's website says, at this point in the story, the lover is presenting himself as a pilgrim before a reliquary, equipped with his staff and his scrip, a pilgrim's pouch or bag. The staff is described as stiff and strong. He talks of his prior uses of his equipment, of sticking it into those ditches, and kneeling before the relic full of agility and vigour between the two fair pillars consumed with desire to worship.
It's great, because, like, the most beloved poem in all of Old English, It's a chuffing carry-on film.
I mean, in fairness, it wasn't Old English. This is medieval France, so...
Close enough.
We know that England and France were basically having the same kind of humour. You remember those riddles that we had ages ago, Andrew? The one about the key and the onion?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, those.
For much of our nation's histories, we have been engaged in what can only be described as a filth-off.
Yeah.
Which, if
was
you
that book
look
of
it up
riddles
on
that
a
every...
dictionary...
Yeah, it was the book of riddles where every answer is just dangly bits.
Yep. What we thought was dangly bits, but turned out to be more mundane things like a key for a door.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it a key? Was it a keyhole?
It was the extra book, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was the extra book, yeah.
Really old stuff. I think that, like, maybe at this time, because there were hardly any publications anyway, most of them are religious. Maybe, like, that's the only thing you're allowed to be reading. If you're, educated enough to be able to read, and then outside of Latin, this is the reason why Pornhub is like incredibly popular. It's the same. It's the same thing. Sex sells.
Yeah. And in the future, people will have to translate that, I guess.
Yeah. So, if you want a riddle from the extra book, I can give you one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, just remember, this is the extra book, and they did a lot of things at home. They had a lot of industry at home, yeah? I heard that something was growing in the corner, swelling and sticking up, raising its roof. A proud bride grasped that boneless thing with her hands, a lord's daughter covered with a garment, that bulging thing.
I mean, does it even really matter what the right answer is?
Is it just like everything looks like a bit like a willy?
Weirdly enough, it's bread dough.
There you go.
Of course it is. The only thing I was thinking of.
And that is the Book of Riddles from the extra book.
Oh my God, it literally hasn't changed from then until Carry On, has it?
No.
So when you tell me this French poem is basically filth, I believe it.
Yep. Yes, The Romance of the Rose. Look for that on shelves next to Little Budgie's Done a Fudgy. So, that about wraps it up for this week. Shall we have a quick roundup of what we've been reading?
Yeah. Yes, I have finished Animal by Sarah Pascoe. Yes!
This is it, everyone. The rapture's coming.
And it's so jam-packed with facts. It's she just crams in so many facts, but she tells it in such an entertaining fashion that you learn a lot, and you sort of don't realise how much you don't know about your own body. It's written about the female body, and I had no idea like about half the things that she talks about, and I walk around in one. So, it's jam-packed full of stuff, entertainingly written, but also a really handy, I don't want to say it's not polemic, but it is kind of a manifesto for change in the rape laws.
Yes, yeah.
Which is an extremely valuable chapter that she puts in at the end, just to expand on that in a thoughtful way, not in a knee-jerk, tabloid way.
I enjoyed it greatly. I read it when I was working in my last job, and slightly regretted being in the staff canteen with it when it gets up to the bit with all of the hand-drawn pictures of vaginas, but other than that, great experience.
Yeah, I was reading that on a train, quite close to my face, so nobody could see me. Trying not to be overlooked.
Well, I'm still reading Stephen Fry's Mythos and enjoying that, but I've also just started Got to Get Through This by Louis Theroux.
Which, in terms of autobiography titles,
it's amazing, isn't it?
It's a weird choice. Who did the song?
Daniel Bedingfield.
I thought it was Daniel Bedingfield. I mean, why? Of all the artists to choose, well, I don't know.
I think it just makes it even funnier. It's like, I'm sure there's a Rolling Stones track with Through in the title, but Daniel, calling your life story after a Daniel Bedingfield song is amazing.
Quite a choice.
It's good stuff so far. I'm still going through the bit about his childhood, which is it's interesting because I didn't realise that his father, Paul Theroux, the famous travel author, actually published The Grand Railway Bazaar, the book that made his name during Louis' childhood. So it was like suddenly they went from being a pretty unremarkable middle-class family to being a celebrity family, like overnight. It's interesting how he describes that change. And yeah,
it's like the goggle box of its day.
He comes across as lovely in it, but, you know, what did you expect?
Can I ask about Mythos? How's that going? What are you up to?
I'm about sort of 200 pages through. They've invented genders now, so that's a big step forward.
Is that Plato?
No, that was...
Oh, is this God? This is Gods, isn't it? Sorry.
It's Gods, yeah. There are
you're
some...
going to talk about the split-apart theory.
No. There's some like split-apart theories, another thing you don't want to look up on Urban Dictionary. It's interesting. I am liking it more in the asides and the explanations of how these stories still have echoes in modern language and literature than I am the stories themselves. But I think that's just Greek myths. I think I have a problem with anything that's, if I say pre-psychological, am I making sense? It's like, it's not that I can't read anything written before Freud, but I find if you read early novels, the characters have, well, characters, but in myths they're just like angry or rapey or vengeful, or it's like very much the sort of seven dwarves
of gods.
So I don't know, but it is valuable. I read it primarily because I wanted to be reintroduced to the Greek myths and to have more of a knowledge of what people are talking about when they name drop them. And on that, it is useful to me.
That would be the reason why I would like to read it as well, I think, because it's continually referenced by people, and I've not really read much of that sort of thing before.
No, I did know a fair bit about like mythology when I was a kid, but you also, there's a limit to how much of mythology you can read when you're a kid. It's like there's one Greek myth that just revolves around, I think it's Hephaestus's jizz on a blanket, and it's like, I definitely do not remember this bit in my children's encyclopedias of myth and legend.
Yeah, more of a pamphlet.
More of a Tijuana Bible.
What about you, Andrew? What you been reading?
Same as last time. I've been keeping on chipping away at Wastelands: The New Apocalypse. It's very much the kind of book where, like, you go in, you read a little bit, then set it aside for a while, because as with all anthologies, it can kind of build up. Especially when the subject material is somewhat grim.
Yes.
But yeah, still been enjoying it a lot. There was one story I don't have it with me, and I cannot remember who the author was, but it was a really nice one about a woman sort of exploring the ruins of the old world, just like in a canoe. But as the story goes on, like, it becomes more apparent that, like, actually she's turned into some, like, weird mutated fish monster person.
Nice.
Oh, we've all had Sunday mornings like that.
Yeah, exactly. But then it ended up actually being quite a sweet conclusion. But I very much like the idea of it's the end of humanity, but not necessarily the end of the world.
Yeah.
So it's very much The Earth Abides, which I think I've mentioned before, like one of my favourite books.
Mm.
Cool.
Good.
Also, there's a story about opportunistic cannibalism.
Yes.
Is it better or worse than pre-planned cannibalism? I've never given them that much thought.
I did diarise my cannibalism.
Well, some people are for pre-planned and some people are against. Some people just want to be surprised about whether it's a boy or a girl.
Surprise cannibalism. Oh, we weren't expecting to be cannibals, but then one day, I mean, you never.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm just saying. Mystery Meat Tuesday can kind of get boring when, it's either pork or chicken, isn't it? Oh, what's that? Uncle Stew.
There's something to say about October and publishing, because it's obviously spooky month of the year.
Yes.
And the Hamlin Ghost Annual thing is published.
Oh,
this
yeah.
week.
Yeah.
And it's been published. And also the Scarfolk Annual has been published.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. I think that's the first one you mentioned is the old 70s.
Yeah, 70s one. Yeah.
Which looks fabulous.
It does. It looks awesome. And the Scarfolk Annual just is the creepiest thing in the world. So I can't wait to have a look at one of those.
Cool. So, that it for today then?
Cool. I think so.
Cool. Okay, so if you want to listen to more episodes of Literary Loitering, or indeed any of the other shows that make up the Geek Show podcast family, then you can find them all on our website or on whichever podcast provider that you choose to use. Our website is thegeekshow.co.uk, and if you are listening through any podcast service, then leave us a rating, leave us a review. It does help us with exposure, and it does help us improve. Also on our website, you'll find our Patreon, and you'll find reviews of video games, you'll find film reviews, and all sorts of other stuff as well. So have
lots of cool stuff.
Yes, lots of cool stuff. That's it from us for this week. Until next time, I've been Rob.
I've been Andrew.
I've been Sarah.
And I've been Graham.
And I am surprised that all of you did that right.
It totally worked.
Oh, we should have made Sarah a showrunner ages ago.
Yeah, just the very nature of her now more calming presence just brought us in line.
Oh, God. Literary Loitering hosts are aligned. We can now start the ritual. Right, we'll see you all next week. Oh, sorry. Yeah, next time.
Yeah, I was about to say, have we actually finished the episode? No, we haven't. Thanks for listening.
Good night, everybody.